made some changes. It's now turn the amplifier on. Make sure you turn.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاع له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحتك العسام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعام. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك وأستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنعني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضعا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عمله القبيح بالحسن مبدلا خيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي وتجرعت بجحلي، وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي، كم من قبيح سترت، وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلت، وكم من عثار وقيت، وكم من مكروه دفعت، وكم من ثناء جميل لست أحلا له نشرت. اللهم عظم بلائي، وأفرت بي صوحالي، وقصرت بي أعمالي، وقعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني النفسي بعد آمالي، وخدأتني الدنيا بغرورها، ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي يا سيدي. فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفزحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملت في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وعصاعتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رعوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور عتوفا. إلهي وربي من لي خيرك، أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في عمري. إلهي ومولاي، أجريت علي حكما اتبعته فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترذ فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما أحوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاءك، وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا، مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا، معترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري، وإدخالك إياي في ساعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري، وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني، ورقة جلدي، ودقة عظمي. يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، وأتقده زميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت، أو تبعد من عدنيت، أو تشرد من عاويت، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيت ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي تسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك الصادقة وبشكرك مادحة، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى زمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح ساعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طاعئة، وأشارت باستغفارك مضعنة. ما هكذا الزن بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك، أنك يا كريم يا رب، وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره، ألا أحلها على أن ذلك بلاء مقروء قليل مكثو، يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته، فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل الوقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي، فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين؟ يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها عضج وأبكي لعليم العذاب وشدته، حمل طول البلاء ومدته، فلئن سيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي، صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك، وحبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك، أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجاه عفوك، فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لعذجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج العاملين، ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولا عنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أتباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يذج إليك ذجيجا معملا لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي، فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تعلمه النار وهو يعمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانا؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين أتباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتقه منحا فتتركه فيها هيحات؟ ما ذلك ذنوبك ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبح لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك، فباليقين أقطع لولا ما هكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لنهتدي فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأن تجل ثناؤك قلت مبتدعا وتتولت بالعنعام متكرما، أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستعون. إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيحة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جواره، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أغفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير تنزله أو إحسان تفضله أو بر تنشره أو رزق تبسطه أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناسيتي، يا عليما بذري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك من موصولا وأعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا، يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من عليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قو على خدمتك جواره واشدد على العزيمة جوانه، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرها إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فعرد، ومن كادني فكد، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نسيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة منك وأخسهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، واعتف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لحجا وقلبي بحبك متيما ومن علي بحسن عجابتك وأقلني عثرتي واغفر زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الحجاب فإليك يا ربي نسبت وجهي وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني منايا ولا تقطع من فضلك الرجائي وأكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه الدواع وذكره شفاع وتاعته غنى ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاح البكاء يا صابغ النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم يا عالما لا يعلم سل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بما أنت أحله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا صلوات فاتحة
بر محمد والے محمد صلوات ایک اور باواز بلند صلوات صدائے آتی تھی زہرا کے رن میں ہائے حسین صدائے آتی تھی زہرا کے رن میں ہائے حسین تجھے لعینوں نے پیاسا ہی ذبح کر ڈالا تجھے لعینوں نے پیاسا ہی ذبح کر ڈالا دیا نہ قطرہ بھی پانی کا تجھ کو ہائے حسین صدائے آتی تھی زہرا کے رن میں ہائے حسین پڑا ہے خاک پہ زہرا کے قلب کا ٹکڑا کے قلب کا ٹکڑا جگر پہ اپنے 72 کے زخم کھائے حسین صدائیں آتی تھی زہرا کے رن میں ہائے حسین برستے دل سے کیا شکر خدا قدیر چلا گلے پر جو خنجر تو مسکرائے حسین صدائیں آتی تھی زہرا کے رن میں ہائے حسین گھرے ہیں نر غیاداں میں اس طرح سرور گھرے ہیں نر غیاداں میں اس طرح سرور تلاش کرتی تھی زینب نظر نہ آئے حسین صدائیں آتی تھی زہرا کے رن میں ہائے حسین منہ اپنا پھیر کے سب روئے ظلم کے بانی منہ اپنا پھیر کے سب روئے ظلم کے بانی جب اپنی گود میں اصغر کو رن میں لائے حسین صدائیں آتی تھی زہرا کے رن میں ہائے حسین بر محمد علی محمد صلوات
فاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون. الذي لا يدركه بعد الهمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن. الذي ليس لصفته حد محدود ولا نعت موجود ولا وقت معدود ولا أجل ممدود. فطر الخلائق بقدرته ونشر الرياح برحمته ووتد بالصخور ميدان أرضه. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا الممجد بشيرنا المصدق نذيرنا المؤيد المصطفى الأمجد والمحمود الأحمد الذي سمي في السماء بأحمد وفي الأرض بأبي القاسم محمد. فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. في قلوبهم مرض فزادهم الله مرضا ولهم عذاب أليم بما كانوا يكذبون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So continuing from yesterday we talked about Ibadur Rahman, the servants of the most merciful. Why Allah uses that name, the most merciful, Ar-Rahman, how important it is, and the two first qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about. Number one, we said الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا, that they walk on this earth with humility. How important it is to be humble in this life. Number two, وَإِذَا خَاطَبَهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا, and when the ignorant address them, when the jahil address them, they don't get angry, they don't get into it, they say salam. They are peaceful and they retreat. They don't bother making conversation with these people. We saw that the first sin that's spoken about in the Holy Quran when it came to the story of Adam was the arrogance of shaitan. خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. I'm created from fire, he's created from clay. He didn't want to do sajda. It was hated such by Allah that Allah told him, فَخْرُجْ مِنْهَا, get out of here, إِنَّكَ رَجِيمٌ. He became expelled. Not just that, but Allah says you will be cursed إِلَى يَوْمِ الدِّينِ, until the day of Qiyamah. So Allah hated that. What is the second sin that is seen in this story? In the story of Adam, now of course the Pandora's box has opened. Shaitan's vices have now opened. He's made that one mistake of arrogance. And now we see the filth that comes from shaitan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقُلْنَا يَا آدَمْ أُسْكُنْ أَنْتَ وَزَوْجُكَ الْجَنَّةِ. You and your wife, Adam, Allah says, you can stay here in this Jannah, in this garden. وَكُلَا مِنْهَا رَغَدًا حَيْثُ شِئْتُمْ, and you can eat whatever you want. وَلَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ, but don't go near this tree. One thing Allah said, do not go near this tree. فَتَكُونَ مِنَ الظَّالِمِينَ, because otherwise you will be of the ظالمين. Now, remember, shaitan, what does he do? How does he trick Adam alayhi salam? فَأَزَلَّهُمَ الشَّيْطَانِ, shaitan caused them to slip. In brief, what does he do? He goes up to Adam and he tells Adam that if you eat from this tree, you will get even closer to Allah. So now remember, it's not that Adam went against Allah just like that. He was tricked into doing it. Remember, Adam was like a newborn. Has he ever heard a lie before? It's the first time. Now shaitan is deceiving him. Now we see the deceit and the deceiving nature of shaitan. What does he do? He tricks him. How? By lying. Lying, how Imam Hassan al-Askari says that all spiteful, all malicious traits are locked in a house, are kept in one house. And the key to that house is lying. That's how bad lying is. Unfortunately for us, it's something that is done so quickly and so easily, we don't even feel the bite. Maybe the first time we lied, our conscience a little bit, we felt guilty. But then it becomes something which the second time we do, the third time, the fourth time, by the end of it, we're doing it so often, we don't realize nothing's biting us. It's not hurting that we're lying, we're going against Allah. Remember, lying is ghuna al-kabira. It's seen as a major sin. Unfortunately, in our eyes, it's something which is done on a daily basis. Unfortunately, in the environment that we live in, it's not seen as anything big. It's normal. They call it a white lie. When you maybe say something which is a small lie, there's no such thing as big and small. Lying is lying. And Imam Hassan al-Askari says, how bad is it that if all the traits are locked into one house, the key to that house is lying. Meaning that lying can make you fall into more sins and more vices just through one thing, and that's lying. It becomes a disease. It gets stuck within us, whereby now it just becomes habitual. Without realizing, we are saying fibs, we are hiding the truth from others, just so that maybe we can spare some time or that we can look good. The verse that I started with, Allah says, "Fi qulubihim maradun," that in their hearts there's a disease, there's an illness. What does Allah do? فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرْضًا. Allah makes that disease even more in their hearts. He makes it worse for them. Why? وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَلِيمٌ. For them is a great punishment. Why? بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْذِبُونَ. Because they were those who used to lie. Because they lied, Allah hated that, and He excelled this disease within them. He made it worse. Why? Why is it that we take it so lightly? Why has it become second nature? Let's take a step back and let's think about why we lie. There's many reasons why we lie, and I've come up with a few. And if you find any, then please do come and tell me. I would love to understand why we as a community, we fall into this very quickly. Number one, to get out of trouble. Especially for kids, maybe, we see this often, that to get out of trouble, they will lie. They will blame it on someone else. We as well, when we're at work, if we forgot to finish work, if we're being held accountable, now we're in trouble, we'll easily lie, just to save us some more time. Is that document ready? Yeah, it's on my desk. Give me 10 minutes. I'm just going to go back and send it to you. Really, you haven't started the document even. But it's so easy to say the lie. We think that we're saving ourselves. Yeah, we're saving 10 minutes in this world. In the next world, what's happening to us? Only then we'll find out when we're there. But we don't realize. Why is it? When you don't see something, then it's harder to believe it. That's why the muttaqeen, those who are God-fearing, when Allah talks about them in the Holy Quran, He says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. That this book has no doubts in it. It's a guide for mankind. What's the first quality of these muttaqeen? It's not that they pray. الَّذِينَ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. That they believe in the unseen. That's the hardest part. If we truly believed in the unseen and in the hereafter, these lies wouldn't come so quickly in our mouths. Unfortunately, it's very quick to come because we don't have full yaqeen and full certainty of that day which is going to come. So the first thing is to get out of trouble. We do it very often. Number two, to avoid upsetting someone. If someone comes and asks you a question, sometimes you'll reply them just because you know that's what they want to hear. If right now I come to Firoz, I'm going to pick on Firoz today. If I come to Firoz Bhai and I say, Firoz Bhai, how was the lecture? He goes, Muhammad, fantastic. Then I leave and he tells you, guys, what sort of lecture was this, man? What was he talking about? He told me what I wanted to hear. That's fine. But the truth was in his heart. It was something very different. That's another problem, because what happens is not only do you fall into lying, now you've fallen into something else called ghiba, where now behind the person's back you've gone and said the truth which you felt. There's ways to go around. It doesn't mean you have to tell him the truth and hurt his feelings, that no, it was a terrible recitation or whatever, the food you made was, absolutely abysmal. No, you don't have to say that. There's ways around that which we'll come to later. But the point is that then we fall into ghiba. And ghiba is one of the worst sins. Al-ghibatu ashaddu min az-zina. That ghiba is a worse sin than committing zina. Zina is also a sin. I'm not saying it's not a sin. It's a sin. But ghiba is worse than that. Why? Because now not only have you committed a sin against Allah, you've now committed a sin against that person as well. For now you have gone and done ghiba about that person. You've spoken ill about that person. Now imagine when you tell a lie, isn't it similar? That you've said something to them which is not true, you've done something against them, and now you've also gone against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 3, why we lie? To shut down a conversation. Maybe someone comes up to us and we can't stand that person. When they talk to us, it's a problem. Now they've come up to us and they start talking. We know that we're going to be here for the next 20 minutes. So what do we say? I've just got an appointment, I need to run. Mom's waiting, I need to go. My wife's waiting in the car. Just, sorry, I'll speak to you later. No, the truth is that no one's waiting for you. There's no appointment. But we say that just so that we can get away from someone. And this is a big problem. At home, we've seen this many a times. I've seen it with my own eyes. Someone calls and the child picks up the phone. Remember, the child is innocent. The child's fitra is pure. The child picks up the phone. Mommy che, hi, ek minute. Hi, mom, it's your phone. Who is it? So-and-so auntie, for example. I don't want to talk to her. I tell her I'm praying namaz. Yeah. So now the kid, what does the kid do? The kid is innocent. Mom says she's praying namaz. How can she tell you she's praying namaz if she's praying salah? Huh? Tell her I'm sleeping. Mom says she's sleeping. Is she sleep talking? How is it possible? You see, now the child is pure. How does the child learn? Many of us who are parents will know that when we prayed salah in front of our children for the first time when they were younger, the first time they saw us, they came and probably climbed on our backs. The second time they saw us, they came and they stood with us. The third time, now you put your turba down and you put another one down because you know that she or he is going to come. And now you're praying and now they start to pray as well. You didn't tell them to pray. How did they know? Because they saw you. What they see is what they take. So now even though maybe they did 3 sajdas before ruku, after ruku, whatever, but they're learning from watching you. And that's the biggest injustice that we can do to our children or to others, is when they see us do something now that maybe tells them it's okay to do this. And the child thinks that's fine. Tomorrow the child will do the same thing with his friends. And whose fault is that? Comes back to us as parents. Our haq over them. That we have to teach them correctly. We're not doing justice to them. Another reason, to protect our image. Many a times maybe we're sitting with people and we ask the question, and now to protect our image, as parents sometimes we do this as well. In front of others we'll be like, did you pray Fajr? We'll ask our child. Now he's in front of people, doesn't want to be embarrassed. He'll say yes. But that's our fault. We shouldn't be asking those sort of questions in public to him. To protect your image, sometimes we do this. It comes down to small things. In Arba'in, everyone's sitting there. Oh, did you finish the walk? Now he didn't finish the walk because it was hard for him. And Imam Hussain doesn't care if you finished the 90-kilometer walk or you did 3 steps with the cleanest of intentions and it was hard for you and you took the bus. But now everyone's sitting there and everyone else has walked. He says, yeah, I completed the walk. Baba, I was with you. We took the bus together. Why are you lying? What is the need? To protect your image? What does it matter what these people think? Why is it that lying has become so easy that we go against Allah for these small things? Next one, to make money. It's very easy when we're in a shop and we're selling products to hide the defects of what we are selling. Or even if it comes to one extra point, whereby we don't tell someone what the defects are when they are going to buy something. Why are we hiding this? Why are we lying to them? What will happen? Remember, the rizq comes from Allah. Why is it that we are trying to now make an extra buck for what? Remember Imam Ali alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala. Imam Ali alayhi salam has a beautiful hadith. He says, Ar-rizqu rizqan. That there's 2 types of rizq. One which you go out to sort, you go out to find. And one which comes to find you. So no matter where you are in the world, that rizq which Allah has kept for you will come to you. Why are we worrying and trying to make an extra £1 or £2 when we're selling something or we're trying to get someone to buy into something? Insurance, pyramid schemes, whatever it may be. We try and sell it to them, you won't get a better price than this. I've already reduced the price. No, you haven't reduced the price. This is the best price that we can get. Shukran. This is the best price that we can get. And you won't get this anywhere else, I've checked. The more and more we say these things, what is happening to that money? Is it halal money when we sell this thing? When we're selling these products that we've relied upon, is it halal money? Who suffers? We take it home, we buy food, and then we feed our families with that food. Is that food now halal? Have we thought about the ramifications? A small lie, we call it a small lie, that we have. What's really happened? We've taken it to an extent whereby others now are being impacted by the small things that we are doing. So to make money, sometimes we try and lie. Next one is to save money. To save money, we will go up to someone and tell them, no, I've seen it better somewhere else. This same product, 3 doors down, it's cheaper. No, it's not. Why are we lying? When we go to Dubai and places like Mina Bazaar to bargain, unfortunately, whenever my wife goes, she doesn't speak Urdu, so I have to go with her. And I have to sit there for 3-4 hours bargaining. Then you see, the classic where someone will come and they'll say they want this, it's too expensive. They'll say, okay, we're walking out. They start walking out. The shopkeeper runs after them. No, I'll give it to the price that you want. They're walking out, but they want that product. They know that if the shopkeeper doesn't run after them, they'll turn around and come back. They're walking out thinking, they're hoping that person's going to come. This is not really telling the truth. You know you're not really walking out. You're going to walk there, you'll see he didn't come. I'll go and buy it for the price he wants. Small things like this, we fall into lying so easily. The worst of traits. Why? Because it's the key to all other evils. It's the key to all other vices. To deceive people. It's very easy when people are gullible. Gullible people who you tell them anything and they'll believe you. And we'll laugh because we'll tell them the silliest things and they'll believe us. As a joke, we'll tell them and bichara, they'll believe us. When we do this, what does it tell us about ourselves? When people see this, what do they think about ourselves? Our holy Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, surely those who are most frequent in believing people when they speak are the most frequent in telling the truth. So if someone is gullible, know that they are like that because they are very used to telling the truth. What a beautiful habit that they have. Because they always tell the truth, they expect that others will also be telling them the truth. And the opposite, Rasulullah says. And those who are mostly doubt people are the ones who are the most frequent liars. So next time someone tells us something, and maybe we're going to doubt them, let's think twice. Which category do we want to fall into that Rasulullah talks about? The ones who will believe people. Maybe people will laugh at us and think we're naive. But they'll know that we are the ones who tell the truth. We are always the ones who tell the truth, and that's why we're happy to believe people. Or those who will continuously doubt others, and the reason they do that is because they themselves lie. So they know what other people are probably thinking. So they're trying to stop themselves from falling into that. It's too late because they've fallen into that habit of lying. So now they doubt everyone else. Finally, we have the famous I don't know lie. When someone asks us something, we know the answer, but we can't tell them. For example, maybe in work, a colleague, did your colleague finish that work? Now you know they didn't finish that work. But you can't say, no, he didn't. So you say, I don't know. You think that you're not lying. This is also lying. Saying I don't know is lying because you do know the truth. So small things like this is very easy for us to fall and slip and become of those who then become habitual in what we say. Who suffers? Like we said, our children. The child who picks up that phone call, he suffers because now he's learning something which is not correct. Or for example, when a child does something, maybe you have 2 children, a boy and a girl, and the girl comes crying that, Dad or Mom, my brother hit me. You call the brother, you call the son. Did you hit? He says, no, I didn't. I'm asking you again, did you hit? I didn't do it. The child will completely negate what happened. He will not agree. I never did this. You could show him video evidence. I'm showing you this happened. No, I didn't do it. He will just not agree. You'll say, I'm asking you for the last time now. Even though you'll ask him another 10 times afterwards. I'm asking you for the last time. Did you do it? No, I didn't do it. He will just not agree. Why? Because the first time when you asked him, maybe many months ago, when he did something wrong, when you asked him and he told you the truth, how did you react? How did we react as parents? We got angry at them. We punished them. So now they know if we tell the truth, what's going to happen? Nothing good is going to come of it. So now we will just defend ourselves until the sun sets and it's forgotten about. At that point, it's us as parents who have maybe done something wrong in the tarbiyah, in the upbringing of this child, that we have immediately scolded that child without making him or her understand what it means to tell the truth, how important it is to tell the truth, and how bad it is to fall into this habit of lying. At that point, we tell the boy, okay, fine, I believe you. I believe you didn't do it. But if you remember something, come and tell me. And remember, a child's fitrah is pure. A child innately, naturally is pure. After a while, what will happen? He'll feel the guilt. He'll feel guilty because he feels like he's got away with something which he shouldn't have. And he'll come to you, Dad, actually I remember, I think I did hit her. I think I did get angry at her. And that's how the relationship between the father and the child should be. If we immediately fall into this trap of shouting and getting angry, then nothing will come of it. Because in the end, they will stop telling the truth. And only because they're scared. No one should ever be scared of telling the truth. Imam Hussain alayhi salam stood for the truth. Was he ever scared? Those arrows were showering down upon him. Was he ever scared? No. The haqq always comes first. Now, when is lying allowed? Are we allowed to ever lie? Two instances when we're allowed to lie. And we should be very careful when we do this. Number one, Islam places heavy emphasis on reconciliation. When two people fall out, when two people are angry at each other, to reconcile them, to bring them back together, in that case, lying is allowed. So you go to, and sometimes, unfortunately, it's family members. Let's say two brothers have fallen out, two sisters have fallen out. And you go and tell one brother, I was with your brother a few days ago, and he was singing praises of you. How great you are, and when you were younger, what you used to do and whatnot. And you go to the other brother and you say the same thing. And now slowly you try and help them patch up. In Islam, that's allowed. A few areas when lying is allowed. We should be very careful that we don't overdo it. But that's one area where lying is allowed. The second area where lying is allowed, and we know this, is to save yourself from harm. Or when your life is in danger. At that point, to save yourself, it is okay. For example, Ammar bin Yasir, the companion of the Holy Prophet. His mother, Sumayya, and his father, Yasir, they were the first two shuhada in Islam. Why? Because the Quraysh held them down and tortured them and said, say that you do not believe in the Lord of Muhammad. And they said, no, we believe. And they were tortured and they were tortured until they died. When they died, of course, Ammar was also being tortured. At that point, he just said, okay, fine, I don't believe. I don't believe in the Lord of Muhammad. So they let him go. Now Ammar was feeling so bad. He started crying and he starts running towards Rasulullah's house. He starts running towards the Prophet. He feels like he's done a major sin. The news reaches and people go and tell the Holy Prophet that this is what Ammar bin Yasir did. Ammar bin Yasir went and negated Islam, left Islam. The Prophet says, never. Verily the flesh and the blood of Ammar is saturated with true faith. He came running to Rasul and told Rasul what happened. Rasul said, don't worry. In his blood and in his flesh was saturated the faith of Rasul, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because what he said with his lips was not what he really believed in his heart. He did it to save himself. Now that's called taqiyya, saving yourself in a time like that. What other way could we use possibly instead of doing this? The other way is something called tawriyah. And that's when you don't lie, but maybe you say something in such a way that people can take it in a different way. You say something which could have two meanings. I went to Feroz's house. After I finished, he made chai, which was terrible. He asked me, Muhammad, how was the chai? I said, well, the smell was amazing. Did I say that I drank it? No. Things like this, where you can maybe say something which is not the truth to save yourself. You're not lying. For example, in the palace of Fir'aun, Fir'aun had a cousin. The cousin of Fir'aun was actually a mu'min. He believed in the message of Musa alayhi salam. But of course, he had to hide that in front of Fir'aun. Now there was a group of people who found out that this person is a mu'min. They went to Fir'aun. They told Fir'aun that your cousin, you think he's with you, he's actually a believer of Musa. He believes in Musa. Fir'aun got angry. He says, summon him right now, bring him to the courtyard. They bring him to the palace of Fir'aun. The courtyard is packed with people, and these people who accused him are standing right there. Fir'aun turns to his cousin, says, is it true that you are now a believer of Musa? Now this person knows, the mu'min knows, at this point, it's life and death. So he turns to the people who accused him, and he asked those people, who is your Lord? They said, Fir'aun is our Lord. He said, okay. Who is the one who cares for you and looks after you? They said, Fir'aun is the one who looks after us and cares for us. Who is your Razik? Who is your sustainer? Who gives you rizq? They said, Fir'aun is the one who gives us rizq. Then this mu'min turns to Fir'aun. He says, let everyone here be a witness that their Lord is my Lord. Who did he mean? Those people's Lord was really Allah. That's what he meant. But Fir'aun understood it differently. He said, their Lord is my Lord, and their sustainer is my sustainer, and their caregiver is my caregiver. Fir'aun thought he was talking about himself. Really, the mu'min was talking about Allah, who is the true caregiver, who is the true sustainer, who is the true Lord of those people. The moment he said that, Fir'aun became very happy, and he demanded that those people be tortured and killed. And this mu'min saved his life. But did he lie? No. He did something called tawriyah, where he didn't say the truth, he didn't lie, but he said something which could be maybe understood in two ways to save himself. What happens when we lie? What do we fall into? The first thing we fall into, especially when we talk about, let's say for example, that person who recited and came and asked, how did I do? You said, yes, he did well, then he left, then he told everyone he did terrible. What do we fall into when we lie? We fall into hypocrisy. We fall into nifaq. Because now we are being so two-faced. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now we are being two-faced. We are saying one thing and we are really meaning or believing something else. We are not acting in the correct way. And Allah hates that. He says in the Holy Quran, لِمَ تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Do not say which you do not do. And then he says, كَبُرَ مَقْتًا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَن تَقُولُوا مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Allah hates it that you say something and you don't do it. That's hypocrisy. That's the problem. Look at the Quraysh. What did they do? They went out and said one thing about Rasul. We spoke about yesterday. He's a madman. He's a magician. He's a poet. But then they went and behind his house they would listen to the Quran because they knew the truth. That's hypocrisy. And one of the qualities of those who are hypocrites, وَإِذَا جَاءَهُمْ أَمْرٌ مِّنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوِ الْخَوْفِ أَدْعُوا بِهِ. What will they do? If there's a news or talk about security or khawf or something, fright or security or fear, what will they do? They'll go and tell everyone. They'll immediately go and they'll tell the whole world. And we find that within our communities. Did you hear what happened to that Maulana? You know, he got done for fraud. Did you ask him? Have you spoken to him? The first thing you do is you verify news when you receive it. But those who are hypocrites, they're the quickest in going and giving this news to everyone. Did you hear what happened to so-and-so's son? He went to jail for drugs. Again, why? Even if it's true, what benefit is it you telling everyone? If anything, you're bringing down that person's name. You're bringing down his family name, his father's name. That's a hypocrite. That he is ready to go and give news without even knowing the truth. That is the problem. Our Holy Prophet said 3 things are the sign of hypocrisy. Number 1, breach of trust. When you tell someone in confidence, you know that it won't stay with them. It will go through the whole community. Number 2, lying that we're speaking about right now. And number 3, breach of promise. When they make a promise, they will not stick to their promise. That is hypocrisy. That is the problem. Now when do we face this hypocrisy? that falls into lying? Do we fall with it with the people? We understand we do it. What about with Allah? Do we do this with Allah? I heard a hadith which sent shivers down my spine. That when we pray our salah and we stand there, we do our takbir and we start reciting Surah Al-Hamd. And we get to the point where we say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Only you, Ya Allah, do we seek help from. And only you do we turn to. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells his angels, كَذَبَ عَبْدِي. My servant has lied to me. Why? Because Allah is not in the forefront of what we do. He is not the only one that we seek help. He is not the only one that we worship. We put other things in front of Allah. The moment we prioritize, and I speak to myself first before anyone else, the moment we prioritize anything else before salah, we know that we have not put Allah in front. We have not worshipped Him first. We have worshipped else or anything other than Allah that we have put there. Whether it's work, whether it's a TV episode or football or whatever it may be. We have prioritized something else above Allah. And now when we say, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ, only you do we worship, what are we doing? We're being hypocrites. Because Allah is saying He's lying. He's not put me first. If I was first, He would pray first. Unfortunately, that's our problem. How do we get rid of this nifaq? How do we get rid of this hypocrisy in our hearts? There are many ways. Of course, being careful as to what we speak. At the time of Rasul, some of the companions would keep a stone in their mouth. That every time they wanted to speak, they'd have to take it out. So they would think twice about what they're about to say. Maybe not so practical for us. But I leave you with one very simple and easy practical point as to how to help take out nifaq from our hearts. How to take out hypocrisy. The Holy Prophet says, إِرْفَعُوا أَصْوَاتَكُمْ بِصَلَاةِ عَلَيَّ. Raise your voices when you send salawat upon me. فَإِنَّهَا تَذْهَبُ النِّفَاقِ. Because it takes out hypocrisy from the hearts. Allah. So it's very easy to take out hypocrisy. All we have to do is raise our voices when we send salutations upon Muhammad and Ala Muhammad. It's very simple. But we have to be ready to call out and call out to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one is hypocrisy that we unfortunately gain when we become liars. The second thing is that we lose integrity. People will not believe what we say. When they see us, maybe they'll talk nicely, but in their hearts they won't want to spend time with us. They know this guy's a liar, we can't trust him. And the moment they say that, it's a big problem. People who narrated a hadith, if ever it was found that they lied, what happened? They were no more considered as valuable people of narrators. Because why? They were found to lie once. It's a big problem. And hence why honesty, the opposite, is such a great quality of the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Making sure that we speak the truth. We're on the haqq, and the opposite of lying is sidq, which inshallah my brother, my cousin Suhail, Sheikh Suhail will speak to you inshallah from Saturday onwards. One of his topics is sidq, truth, how to come about that. So inshallah he'll touch more upon that. But being on the haqq and ensuring that the truth is what we stand by. Hence why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for 40 years before he became a prophet, what did he do? He made himself known to the people such that they gave him two qualities, two names. They would call him As-Sadiq and Al-Amin, the truthful and the trustworthy. He made that rapport with them. They knew that this person, we can leave anything, any gold, any money with him when we go on a safari or when we go somewhere, because we know that he will keep it for us. He will never lie. And that's why when finally the time came for him to propagate his message, he asked the people, Ma'ashar al-Nas, do you believe that behind this mountain there is an army coming to attack? If I told you that, would you believe me? They said, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course we believe you. Why? You are as-Sadiq, you are the truthful. You are al-Amin, you are the trustworthy. Then he said, then follow my message as the Prophet of God, La ilaha illallah. Now it became very hard for them to not believe him. Because they knew for 40 years this man has been as-Sadiq and al-Amin. Now he's coming out with this, we have to trust him. It must be the truth. And that's how important telling the truth is. I end with this quote from Imam Ali, which I want it to be our takeaway point. He says, speak the truth even if it's to your detriment. Even if it means you're going to fall into loss, or you're going to fall into problems, or you're going to fall into trouble. Speak the truth. That's better for us than to even say the smallest of lies. So next time, whenever we are, wherever we are, let us think twice before we are about to say something. Two things. Number one, our families and our children are watching us. They learn from us. And number two, to speak the truth is far greater than to lie, even if it's to our detriment, even if it means that we are going to fall into a loss. Remember, Allah is our Raziq. Let Him worry about our rizq. Yesterday on the way home, I had the honor of spending an hour with a great individual who was telling me about living in the UK and how it is. And I said, yeah, these days, it's very hard to sustain yourselves in London. He was talking about the environment, the whole LGBTQ issue, etc. It's hard. I was saying, no, from a financial point of view. He said, no, Allah is ar-Raziq. Why are you worrying about that? And that gave me so much sukoon, that someone could tell me so easily that Allah is ar-Raziq, don't worry about it. So next time we're about to lie for something like that, let's remember, Allah is looking after us. If we try hard, He will sort out the rest. On the journey from Kufa to Karbala, Imam Hussain alayhi salam calls his son Ali al-Akbar. And he tells Ali al-Akbar, this is what's going to happen to us. We are going to a land and it's going to be such that we're going to end up being slain and murdered, and our blood will be spilt. He was seeing what Ali al-Akbar's response would be. But remember, the truth is what they stand for. Lies is not what they stand for. Hypocrisy is not what they stand for. Ali al-Akbar turns to his father, Imam Hussain, and says, Alasana ala al-haq? Are we not on the truth? Imam Hussain says, of course we are. Then what else matters? Once you are on the truth, then nothing else matters. The 2nd of Muharram is upon us. And slowly the days will go, and the day of Ashura will come, and we'll say, as we say every year, as we say every time we recite ziyarah, Ya laytana kuntu ma'akum. Ya laytana kunna ma'akum. If only we were there with you, Ya Hussain. And yes, Ya Hussain, if only we were there when you had to leave the graveside of your blessed mother and you bid farewell knowing you will never see this again. If only we were there when you had to bid farewell to the grave of Rasulullah, your beloved grandfather, who said, Hussain is from me and I am from Hussain. But the army of Yazid didn't remember that. And then you moved on to Makkah. Ya laytana, Ya Hussain, if only we were there when you had to leave the sacred house of Allah, Masjidul Haram, which should be a place of sanctity, where no bloodshed should happen. But yet you had to leave because now bloodshed was coming your way. Ya laytana, Ya Hussain, if only we were there when we heard the cries of the children, Al-Atash, Al-Atash, that this thirst was killing them, but the water had been cut from the camp of Hussain. Who cuts water from animals, let alone the camp of the grandson of Rasulullah? Ya laytana, if only we were there, Ya Hussain, when the first from your family started going towards the battlefield, when your eldest son Ali al-Akbar now wears his armor and starts going into the battlefield, the first son of Hussain. Imagine the heart of Hussain alayhi salam. His son goes out and fights such a brave battle. Ya laytana, if only we were there when that ajib incident happens, that Ali al-Akbar turns around and comes back towards the camp. He says, oh father, al-atash qad qatalani, the thirst is killing me, wa thiqlul hadid qad ajhadani, and this armor is so heavy. هل من الماء سبيل? Is there any water? Imagine, as a parent, you will know that the most basic necessity of food and water you would never withhold from your child, no matter how angry you are with them. In Karbala, the most basic necessity of water is being asked from a son to a father. But Hussein can't give him any water. He says, go and fight, O Ali al-Akbar, and soon you will meet your grandfather, Rasulullah. Ya laytana, if only we were there, O Hussein, when that bright moon, that face that looked like a moon. Tawus says in his Luhuf that when Qasim ibn al-Hassan rode into the battlefield, the one who reminded Hussein of his brother Imam al-Hassan, it was like a full moon was riding into the battlefield. That's how bright Qasim's face was. But a sword came down upon him and he falls down to the ground and he calls out, oh uncle, come and help me. And Hussein, the lion of God, charges into the battlefield. Ya laytana, if only we were there, because these enemies saw Hussein charging and they got scared and they started going. But as they started charging on their horses, there was a body on the floor that was trampled upon. Qasim's body was trampled upon in such a way that by the time Hussein gets there, the soul of Qasim has left his body. Hussein calls out and cries out, oh nephew, what is the point that you called upon me and I couldn't even answer you? All that time, O Hussein, when Aun and Muhammad make their way into the battlefield, they are slain, they are murdered. But look at the tent of Zainab. Does she cry or does she raise her hand and say, Allahumma taqabbal minna? This is Zainab, who, let us remember that time, Ya laytana, who came and said her final farewell to Hussein. Mahlan mahla ya ibn al-Zahra. Now Hussein makes his final journey into the battlefield. He's gone many a times, but he makes that final journey. Now he is sapped of energy. Arrows have come upon him. Stones are being pelted towards him. Now he falls to the ground. People come from close range and they fire arrows at him. They throw stones at him. He's bleeding from his forehead. He's bleeding from his body. He has no energy. And the Mal'oon comes towards him with a dagger to make that final act that will never be forgiven. Zainab salamullah alayha looks from the tents. She sees the head of Hussein is now on a spear. She cries out to her grandfather. She says, Ya Muhammada, Salla alayka malaikatu sama. Oh grandfather, oh Rasulullah, may the peace and blessings of the angels be upon you. Hada Husaynun bil ara. Here is Hussein, deserted, left all alone on the plains of Karbala. Murammalun bid-dima. He has been drenched in his own blood. Muqatta'ul a'da. And his limbs have been severed. This is the grandson of Rasulullah. Wa banatuka sabaya. And your daughters have now been taken as prisoners. A Sunni alim who was narrating this said that at that point Zainab was crying and made this cry out to Rasulullah. Her people, Ahlul Bayt, started crying, and even the enemies of Hussein started crying at this. What use was it? Now Hussein has been put on a spear and Zainab makes her way towards Kufa and Sham. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة.
Ya Hussain, 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 Ya Hussain. पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ैनब. पर्दा दुनिया को सिखाने वाली आई बाजारों में ज़ैनब. پردہ دنیا والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب گھر سے باہر بھی نہ آنے والی گھر سے باہر بھی نہ آنے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب جس نے بابا سے چرائے تھے کئی بار اسیر جس نے بابا سے چرائے تھے کئی بار اسیر قیدی آزاد کرانے والی قیدی آزاد کرانے آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازار میں زینب جلتے خیموں سے اٹھا لائی عباس کے بعد جلتے خیموں سے اٹھا لائی عباس کے بعد علی عابد کو بچانے والی علی عابد کو بچانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب دین کی خاطر یہ بی بی سالار بنی دین کی خاطر یہ بی بی سالار بنی بن کے عباس دکھانے والی بن کے عباس دکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب اپنے سینے پہ سکینہ کو زندانوں میں اپنے سینے پہ سکینہ کو زندانوں میں بعد بھائی کے سلانے والی بعد بھائی کے سلانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب ننگے سر پڑتی رہی خطبے بازاروں میں ننگے سر پڑتی رہی خطبے بازاروں میں کسر دشمن کو ہلانے والی کسر دشمن کو ہلانے آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازار بازاروں میں زینب، جس نے بابا سے چھرائے تھے کئی بار اسیر، جس نے بابا سے چھرائے تھے کئی بار اسیر، قیدی آزاد کرانے والی، قیدی آزاد کرانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب، پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب، پردہ دنیا کو سکھانے والی آئی بازاروں میں زینب۔
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین، تمام عالم میں آج ماتم حسین بے کس کا ہو رہا ہے، تمام عالم میں تمام عالم میں آج ماتم حسین بے کس کا ہو رہا ہے، علم گھروں میں سجے ہوئے ہیں، دلوں میں فرش ازاں بچھا ہے، تمام عالم سیاہ کپڑے سیاہ چادر، دلوں میں گرد و غبار سر پر، سیاہ کپڑے سیاہ چادر، غموں کی گرد و غبار سر پر، ہے سوگواروں کے اشک جاری کہ ثانی زہرا بے ردا ہے، تمام تمام نہ چشم پر نام ہے کیوں سوالی، جلوس ہے ذوالجناح خالی، نہ چشم پر نام ہے کیوں سوالی، جلوس ہے ذوالجناح خالی، کہ میرا بابا سوار دلدل، کہ میرا دلدل سوار مولا جو کربلا میں تڑپ رہا ہے، سلام تمام عالم میں آج ماتم حسین بے کس کا ہو رہا ہے، علم مشق سکینہ دیکھو تو مومنو بس یہ کہہ کے رو لو، علم مشق سکینہ دیکھو بس یہ کہہ کے رو لو، چچا بھتیجی میں کیا ہے رشتہ، چچا بھتیجی میں کیا ہے رشتہ، وفائے عباس کیا وفا ہے، تمام عالم میں حسین بے کس کا ہو رہا ہے، تمام حسین پیڑی میں دل سنبھالے کہ دل سے الجھی سے نہ نکالے، حسین پیڑی میں دل سنبھالے کہ دل سے الجھی سے نہ نکالے، جوان بیٹا لہو میں ڈوبا زمیں پہ ایڑی رگڑ رہا ہے، تمام عالم نامار برچی دل نبی پر ابھی ہوئے ہیں جوان اکبر، نامار برچی دل نبی پر ابھی ہوئے ہیں جوان اکبر، یہ قتل جس کو تو کر رہا ہے وہی تو ہم شکل مصطفیٰ ہے، تمام عالم تمام عالم میں آج ماتم حسین بے کس کا ہو رہا ہے، یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین۔
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا خريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء، السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس وأنيس النفوس، أيها المدفون بأرض توس ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب الأسر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان، أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك، واجعلنا من أنصارك وعوانك ورحمة الله وبركاته.
مومنین 4 منٹ رہ گئے اذان میں، تو جو حضرات وضو کرنا چاہیں وہ وضو کر کے آ سکتے ہیں نماز اول وقت انشاءاللہ۔